Hi everybody, HCM1143 Chapter 5. Wanted to talk to you all a little bit about medical technology. Well, it's no secret that we're doing a whole lot better than they used to with medical technology. We don't use leeches anymore to pull your blood out in order to get your diseases out of your body and all kinds of other things. We can go through YouTube and find some really funny videos of things they used to do. But a lot of the things in your book, especially about medical technology, is its effect on not just the healthcare, but on people's idea of healthcare. So it has changed the perceptions of healthcare in many ways. One of which is people kind of equate better medical technology to better medical outcomes. They believe that with better stuff, you feel better. So it is a calling card. It is a point of pride for people to point out what technology they're using. It raises people's expectations. Secondly, it has sent a whole lot of medical care to the outpatient arena, a lot of specialized services. It's no secret that surgery times are greatly reduced, surgery recovery times are greatly reduced with the advent of a whole lot of different procedures, robotic surgery, laparoscopic surgery, those kinds of things. Those things take an incision that would cut your entire abdomen wall and increase your recovery time by weeks down to maybe days. And surgeries that used to keep you in the hospital overnight are now done in about 6 hours. You're leaving the hospital and going home. Medical technology is also driving the training. When doctors are learning how to be doctors, in addition to learning all the diseases and the treatments for such, they're also learning how to use these specialized products, this technology, for the betterment of healthcare. It's raised the respect of the professions. There didn't used to be respiratory techs and sonography techs and all kinds of different jobs that are specialized to a certain piece of medical technology, and it is there. In addition, it's opened the field for a great deal of new jobs, even in maintenance for these machines. These don't calibrate themselves. They don't stay in working order at all times. And so there's a whole new field of jobs that have to do with maintaining all this medical technology that we have found ourselves using over the last decade, or actually 5 decades. Okay. Finally, it has also raised brand new ethical considerations that were never an issue in the past. And every time an advancement happens, there's always something that comes along with it about is this a humanitarian, is this an ethical way of dealing with healthcare? Can this be abused and used for a nefarious purpose? So all those things are always present whenever you're talking about technology. One of the most widespread pieces of technology that have almost taken over all of healthcare is the electronic health record or the electronic medical record. This is how your doctor records what used to be in a chart for you. It has made a huge amount of difference in the administration of a medical office. Information is usually more correct, more easily accessible, more secure than it has been in the past with the EHR. There are a couple pieces of legislation. First is the HIPAA legislation that guarantees your privacy in your medical information, excuse me. And the second one is the HITECH, HITECH. Those two pieces of legislation have really changed the way that we deal with medical information. As a matter of fact, with the HITECH Act, there were actually federal incentives that were given to the states for any facility or doctor's office, nursing home, hospital, all that implemented an EMR. All of those things, those requirements are actually on the website of the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority right now of how to apply for incentives. They are scaling down because that started in 2009, but a great deal of different venues have already adopted EHRs. I will challenge you to find a doctor who's still doing pen and ink files, and none of their files are online, or not online, but on the computer. One of the greatest things about all this medical technology and the internet is telemedicine. We've talked a little bit about access in the past, and this is one of the single greatest advances to access there is, being able to have a doctor or a specialist present without physically being there. And telemedicine, there's a great deal in your book about telemedicine. It's a very interesting field, but you might want to think about, how is this going to be paid for? That's the greatest barrier to telemedicine, is what do you charge for an online doctor visit? What do you charge to have telemedicine available to masses? So a reimbursement model is the single greatest barrier to this great idea of telemedicine, but nobody knows exactly how to do that yet. So that's still in the works. Another thing that we've talked about in the past is how healthcare does not represent a free market. And one of the greatest evidences of that is in medical technology, how there can be supply side controls, which means we can control the access to healthcare by how much technology is prevalent. Now, this is one of the ways that managed care started to limit the expenses, because it's true that not using some of this technology or not obtaining some of this technology is less expensive, but it also has a benefit. There are two different tests in your book that talk about this. It's called the cost effectiveness model and the cost benefit model. As an administrator, you would look at both. The cost effectiveness model is, for the cost, how much greater outcomes, health outcomes, are you receiving? Is this piece of technology actually helping people be healthier? Is it helping their procedures be more successful, etc.? And by how much? A cost benefit model has to do with dollars and cents. It has to do with, per dollar, does this piece of technology make financial sense? And so the decision to obtain technology a lot of times uses both of those factors, but cost benefit is definitely going to be more in the purview of the administrator, because that is really going to be the crux of your position, is to make sure that things are profitable. Once again, nobody wants to work for free. So keeping that facility viable in order to continue paying that payroll, in order to continue to serve patients, is the number one consideration for someone in administration. So there are more than just one cost to obtaining medical technology. First, of course, you have to buy the equipment. It's acquisition. Then after that, you also have to train the people who are going to use the equipment and use it correctly, and also maintain that equipment. But one thing that people don't typically think of is all of the specialized housing for that piece of equipment. I once was in an operating room. They were doing a surgery on me, and the robotic surgery implement, the robot, was so big that they couldn't fit the bed through the door with the robot in there, and I actually had to walk in. So that was pretty funny. But there's specialized housing. Sometimes they have to be maintained. Some of these machines have to be maintained at a certain temperature with a backup generator in case the power goes out, all kinds of different things. So there's a whole lot to consider when it comes to medical technology. Your discussion question is pretty great, that I want you to find what you believe is the greatest advance that we've had in medical technology, and we'll see you next time.